Hi guys, ya sabes que Carlos to another episode of Dimitra's Dishes. Today we're going to be making Tulumbakia. They are basically the Greek version of churros. If you've ever had churros, you're going to love these, except they're not dipped in a cinnamon sugar and dipped in chocolate the way the churros are. These are fried to a golden perfection and then they're dipped in an aromatic syrup. They are so sweet and delicious. They feed a crowd, they taste good the next day, and they're super easy to make. Let's get started. So as with any syrupy dessert, we begin by making the syrup because it is going to need to cool a little bit. We're going to start with 3 cups of granulated sugar. Two cups of water. And about a tablespoon or 2 of lemon juice. We're just going to bring this mixture to a boil and stir it often so that way the sugar doesn't burn on the bottom. As soon as it boils and the sugar is dissolved, we're going to take it off of the heat. We're going to add in a half a cup of honey, and we're also going to add in a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. Mix it all together and set it aside so it can cool completely. The syrup is ready. Now it's time to make the dough. The dough is a very simple dough, and in French it's known as pâté choux. It's basically the same dough that's used to make eclairs and cream puffs. Very simple to make, very inexpensive too, so it's a great dessert if you want to feed a crowd. It starts with 4 ounces of butter, which is a whole stick. I like to use unsalted butter because I like to control the salt. It's going to go in the saucepan. 1.5 cups of water and about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now that's going to go on the heat until the butter melts. And in the meantime, we'll get the dry ingredients ready, which is 1 3/4 cup of flour, all-purpose flour. That's about 250 grams for everyone overseas. And then in the wet mixture over here, you should also add a tablespoon of granulated sugar. We're going to wait for this to boil. I'll just use the same syrup spoon. Okay, as soon as the water begins boiling, the butter should melt pretty quickly. At this point, it's time to add the flour in. You could add it in all at the same time. And then while it's cooking over medium heat, continue to whisk it. It's going to absorb all the liquid really quickly. You're going to see a ball of dough form. Just continue to mix it with the spatula. What you're doing is you're cooking the flour, that raw flour taste out, getting it a little bit nice and toasted. Do this for about a minute or so and then take it off of the heat. So I'm using my stand mixer because the hand blender that I have goes at a very high speed. Even the low speed is too fast. And beating this at a high speed is going to make things like fall out at you or make a mess. So I'm taking out my stand mixer. That's fine. It takes a few steps, but they're all very easy to do. I'm going to transfer all of this dough to the stand mixer. And it's fitted with the beater attachment, the flat paddle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this at a low speed so it can start beating it and cooling it down a little bit. Then in this bowl I have 4 eggs, and I'm going to incorporate them into the dough mixture one at a time, or at least I'm going to try for one to fall in at a time. Each time one is incorporated, I'm going to add the other one until they're all in there and the mixture is going to soften up a little bit. And that's what the mixture should look like once it's done. It's gonna look thick and sticky, but it is gonna be much softer than what we started off with. So now over here, I have a piping bag. Try to get the big ones. This is a 16-inch or a 40-centimeter bag. And this is a star tip attachment. You are going to need this because without it, you won't get the nice edges that the Tulumbakia get. So if you have trouble handling the bag, you can put the bag with the tip attachment on it into a glass, just like so. And don't overfill it. Don't ever fill it more than halfway. Just like that, and then press it down so it can get down all the way to the bottom. And then twist it so it's nice and compact, just like that. So you want to get some oil ready to about 350 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 180 degrees Celsius. It can go about 10-15 degrees higher in the beginning because once you add the dough in here, the temperature is going to drop a little bit. So you're going to also need a little scissor, and you'll see why in a second. Make sure to dip the scissor in some oil. It's going to help cutting the dough. It's going to make cutting the dough easier. So you're going to pipe the dough into the oil. You want about 3-inch long strips. And use a scissor to cut them. Some of them are going to be longer than others. And anytime the scissor gets sticky, dip it in the oil again. And keep twisting the bag so you have a nice handle on it. It should fit into your palm like a tennis ball. And you don't want to overcrowd. You don't want to put too many in because then the temperature goes down too much. And then instead of them frying and getting nice and crispy, they're going to start absorbing the oil and become soggy. And the last thing you want is an oil-filled pastry. You want them to be nice and light and filled with the syrup, which is what they're going to go in once they're done frying. So we're going to fry them for about 3 to 5 minutes. It all depends on the temperature of the oil. Once they're golden all around, you're going to lift them out with one of these, what are they called? These little spider thingies with all the holes. Take them out. Make sure you let as much of the oil drain out as possible. And then you want to have your syrup that should be pretty cool at this time. By this point, it should be at room temperature. Lift them out and dip them in here for a few seconds. Toss them around. Use a separate one because you don't want to get syrup on this one. So I have 2 of them. On Amazon, they're sold as a 3-piece set. There's a really big one, a medium-sized one, and the small one. So I'm going to use the small one in the syrup. And basically that's it. Then you transfer them into a bowl. So turn them while they're frying a few times so they get nice and golden all around. This is such a simple dessert. You're going to probably fry maybe 4 batches of them, 4 or 5 batches, depending on the size of your pan, and then you're done. It's inexpensive, it's tasty, and super easy to make, as you saw. So get them into the syrup and just toss them around for a few seconds so that way they can get all that delicious syrup inside of them. And then lift them out. And then I have this glass bowl over here. I'm just going to serve them in this bowl, as a matter of fact. So I'm going to try to keep the syrup off of the sides of the bowl if I can. And then put them in here. Now, some people like to drain the excess syrup. I like it, but if you really want to drain it, you could put a colander in here or a strainer and put them in here and then transfer them into another bowl or something like that. I am going to continue frying these. Now, if you like them super syrupy, you can let them soak in the syrup a little longer. Test a few batches and see how you like them and then just do it that way. I'm going to continue making these right here and frying them and doing the same thing until all of the dough is finished. So it took about 5 batches of frying to get these all ready, and they're all done. So once they're fried, you can serve them straight away. The best way to serve them is with some Greek coffee, of course, or with some tea. It's up to you. Best part of the video is right now. Time for the taste test. The edges, the decorative edges are slightly crisp. Syrup went all the way through, so it's really nice and soft and airy inside, nice and light, and so syrupy and sweet and delicious. You could, very similar to lucumades. If you like lucumades, you're gonna love these. You can definitely sprinkle some cinnamon on top right before you serve them. Time to take a sip of Greek coffee to wash it down. So delicious. The exact measurements, as always, if you're watching this on YouTube, are underneath the video in the description box down below. If you're watching on Facebook, they're up above. There's a link to the post on my website, dimitrasdishes.com, right up on top of this, right above this video. Thank you guys so much for spending time with me today. I'll see you all next time. Yes,